And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in New Mexico.
Well, Johnny, he just made it official. Former LAUSD Superintendent Austin Butner is running for LA mayor against Karen Bass.
I voted for Karen Bass last time. We had hopes. But now, even she admits we need a citywide turnaround.
Well, if you got behind Karen Bass the last time around over Rick Caruso, your judgment is awful.
This is also the guy that went toe-to-toe with Cecily Mayart Cruz and lost every single time.
Let's go!
Okay. In his defense, if you send a giraffe in to fight a lion, you can't get mad at the giraffe for losing.
And I want you to be all the way pissed off.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. In the old days, when you were a student in school, if you were taking a math test and you looked at the problem that was on the sheet of paper and you came up with the correct answer, but you didn't show your work, sometimes the teacher would mark it as incorrect because you didn't show the work. Even though you got the right answer, the teacher wouldn't give you an A because you didn't show how exactly you got there. Well, when it comes to politics, the same thing can be true with the city of Los Angeles. Even when they get to the right place, when they are on the right side of an issue, they're there for all the wrong reasons.
And that is very true when it comes to Scott Wiener's SB79 that was signed into law by Gavin Newsom on Friday morning. The city of LA opposed it. They voted to formally oppose it. Karen Bass wrote a letter asking Gavin Newsom to veto it. But is that because the LA City Council isn't aligned with Scott Wiener and the YIMBY crowd? Or is it because it takes them out of the process? They're no longer the decision maker, which means no longer will they be subject to bribes and campaign donations from developers.
I think we have a winner.
For more, here is NBC4 and Conan Nolan.
And we begin tonight at 6 with that groundbreaking new law that will change California's urban landscapes as we know them. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carolyn Johnson.
And I'm Robert Kavasik. Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill into law overriding local zoning regulations.
Hey, guess whose county is actually exempted from this law?
Would that be Marin County?
The only counties that this now applies to are Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego, and the major counties in the Bay Area: San Francisco, Santa Clara, San Mateo, Alameda, and I think there's one more. But yeah, this is not being held in the majority of the state, and even San Bernardino got exempt.
Those in LA and Orange counties now will be allowed mid-rise apartment buildings near major transit hubs.
NBC4's Conan Nolan joins us now to break down how this could impact your neighborhood. Conan.
Keep in mind that
if there's a developer in front of your house with the Ed McMahon check, you might as well take it and get out of Dodge.
Now, here's what's interesting here. You may be surprised that Newsom came down on the side of Scott Wiener, who's the most awful person in the state legislature, and not the city of Los Angeles. But when you think about it in the context of national politics, it all makes sense. Because it's not just the Scott Wieners of the world who have taken an interest in this. So have the Obama bros. Don't forget, it was the Pod Save America podcast where the Obama bros went nuts on Imelda Padilla because Imelda Padilla was making the case against it. The
Broken windy theory.
The Obama crowd, they want this sort of thing. The same thing is true with Ezra Klein and the abundance crowd. He's got a book out that all the intellectuals on the left are reading right now. He spent a lot of time talking about this, and he and Gavin Newsom have done each other's podcasts. That's who Gavin Newsom's listening to. I don't think he cares about the people in California who are advocating for all of this. I think he believes that this will help him in the Democratic primary to get the Obama crowd behind him.
Keep in mind that in years to come, you take a look at the city of Los Angeles and Orange County, well, those regions could look a lot different. And when people start to reflect when the changes started, they may reflect on what happened today when Governor Gavin Newsom signed one of the most consequential housing laws in state history.
Outrage at City Hall over legislation Mayor Karen Bass had demanded Governor Gavin Newsom veto.
Guess who has no pull in Sacramento?
Well, who's listening to her at this point? Because she's also up there with a tin cup asking for money from Sacramento, and she's blaming it on the fires. But the reality is she needs the money because of all the lawsuit payouts.
But instead, today, he signed it. Senate bill.
Also, it was really interesting. Gavin has 2 press conferences 2 days in a row at LAUSD headquarters signing bills that are somewhat consequential. But then on Friday morning, does he have a presser with this? Does he have some big signing ceremony? No. He sends out a statement, and that was it. He
will talk about it on the podcast that he's going to go on, though. You watch.
Oh, yeah.
Senate Bill 79, one of the most controversial housing bills in state history. West LA City Councilwoman Tracy Park.
Projects that are drastically going to change the shape and character of Los Angeles. This is something that is going to Manhattanize our city.
The new law impacts California's largest counties, including Los Angeles and Orange counties. It supersedes local zoning laws by allowing the development of 6, 7, 8, and in some cases 9-story housing developments within a half-mile of any major transit line.
Which is a lot of places in a place like Los Angeles.
If you've ever been to the city of Houston, you know what a city will look like if there's no zoning. What this will do is turn Los Angeles and San Francisco and other big metropolitan areas in California into areas like Houston. And trust me, if you've ever been there, you'll recognize very quickly you don't want that.
And we don't even have the barbecue or the Buc-ee's to make up for it.
No, we don't.
Metro Rail, frequent bus routes, and Metrolink. The governor in a statement claiming that all Californians deserve an affordable place to live, close to jobs, schools, and opportunity. Housing near transit means shorter commutes, lower costs, and more time with family.
I'd like to see a reference to how that's actually going to work.
Nope, and they're not going to require these people to provide the infrastructure so that we can handle these large buildings. For example, for things like parking.
Well, and is there even in the big towers that have been constructed near rail, are we even seeing people that are renting those apartments using the rail? Like, for instance, Johnny, we both used to work at a different location. The radio station that we are on in Los Angeles used to be at La Cienega and Fairfax. And the company that we work for sold that lot for $100 million to a developer that built this massive tower in a very bad neighborhood across the street from a Taco Bell with bulletproof glass. There are 1-bedroom apartments for $4,000. There's plenty of vacancies. Do you think anybody who's actually renting space in there is using the Expo line?
None of them.
When we invest in housing, we're investing in people. The signing is a huge win for the Yes in My Backyard movement, supporters of the building of more housing, particularly along public transit. Their champion and the author of...
And by the way, one of the things that Monica Rodriguez said about when this thing was going through is it's not even for the developed transit, but you can start rezoning anywhere that is proposed transit. So if Metro has a wild hair that they're going to start building a bus-only lane somewhere, well, get ready for towers along that corridor.
And you can see why the developers love this.
Well, they no longer have to bribe the city council.
No, they don't have to bribe the city council, and they don't have to put up with things like zoning. If you just decide you want to put a high-rise in a single-family neighborhood, then you can go ahead and do that. And you can make a lot more money on a 6-story building than you can on a single-family home.
Their champion and the author of Senate Bill 79, State Senator Scott Wiener of San Francisco.
I wouldn't call it a new LA. It's just going to mean that there's going to be more housing near Metro and Metrolink stations, which is great.
There's actually a ton of housing near Metro stations right now. It's called the luxury apartments in downtown LA with a massive vacancy rate because no one wants to rent them.
You know what's crazy here? If they actually wanted people to move to areas that are high in density, what they would do is they would make them safe. Because you have a lot of areas, take the area around the Coliseum, for example, that is centrally located. They call it South Central Los Angeles because it's right there in the middle of everything. If that area was safe, you would have people standing in line to rent units there. But the problem is, if the neighborhood isn't safe, people won't go there. You're going to have empty units. You're going to have squatters living in places that used to have renters. It's going to be blight. We've seen this happen, not just there. Hollywood is an area that is very centrally located. When Hollywood is safe, people want to live there. When Hollywood is not safe, people won't go near it. Echo Park, you can go down the list. In San Francisco, in Oakland, the same thing is true. For whatever reason, they have no sense of urgency when it comes to public safety. They just want to build more units in neighborhoods that people don't want to live in.
Well, and we've seen in places where they're saying yes to all kinds of housing, like San Diego, which has approved all kinds of these developments, has approved those ADU bonus things where you can build a 6-story apartment building in your backyard. It hasn't led to lower rents. It hasn't led to lower home prices. None of this has made anything cheaper. When Todd Gloria did a celebratory press conference talking about how San Diego has built double the amount of housing as all the other large cities in California, he did it in front of a newly constructed apartment building in San Diego where it's $4,000 for a one-bedroom apartment.
City officials recently mapped out neighborhoods that would be impacted. Hollywood Boulevard, Lankershim, Wilshire, Crenshaw, Atlantic, 150 transit stops and the transit corridors that surround them. Now greenlit for mid-rise development.
Although there's still Measure ULA to deal with in Los Angeles, which is why there are 0 apartments being constructed right now. So there are still other hurdles to just build.
We let cities basically decide if they wanted to build anything, and shockingly, most of them decided not to build very much. And now we have a deep housing crisis. When we invest all this money, as we should, in improving public transportation, let's make sure that people can actually ride it. And that means more people being able to live near the transit. That is good government.
And also going to take away all the parking from transit and turn that into housing.
Aren't the transit agencies all broke?
Yes.
Okay. He's acting as if we've invested all of this money in public transit. They're wildly popular. People love using them. They just can't live next to the train stations or the bus stations. When the opposite is true, they're losing money because people don't want to ride them because they're not safe either.
LA City leaders disagree. Councilwoman Park says the new legislation places an undue burden on city taxpayers.
And look where we are as a city, Conan. Our sidewalks are a mess. Our streets are a mess. Our trees aren't trimmed. The lights are off. We are not even...
Well, that was true before SB79, and it'll be true after SB79.
We are not even taking care of or maintaining the basic infrastructure that we have because we don't have the funding to do it. And this is going to place billions of dollars in additional burdens on local taxpayers.
Now, supporters of the new law say, well, with more people and increase in development and housing, you have more economic development, more tax revenue. They dispute that. But
also, San Diego built a whole bunch new housing, and they had a massive deficit this year. It's not adding up.
Nope.
The city says, and Councilwoman Park, they're going to see whether or not they can sue the state in order to stop this law from taking effect.
So we've got perhaps a lawsuit taking effect here. When could we likely see these changes?
You know, the State Senator Wiener says, it'll take years over time. But And indeed, right now, the city of L.A. does not have one apartment building being constructed, which is pretty shocking for a city this size. But others are saying this could be rapid. And in the next 10 years, you could see high rises along some of these major corridors. It'll change L.A., no doubt about that.
Wow. All right, Conan, thank you for that.
Pleasure.
So there you go. The latest on SB79, which is now law in the state of California, goes into effect in July.
Let's go to Bruce in San Jose. Bruce, hello.
Hi there. Thanks for having me in today. Hey, I'm a daily user of public transportation. I commute over 60 miles one way. And I can tell you this, in the San Jose area, they have excellent facilities, unbelievable access to all of the transportation system. But the bottom line is, use it. Every morning on the way into work, these buses are empty. The light rail is empty. At the Berryessa Transit Station, each morning when we pass by, there's over 900 empty parking spaces. I've been doing this for 3 years. I believe it's just another way the government's trying to shove things down our throat, just like the hundreds of miles of bicycle paths and trails that nobody ever uses. It's ridiculous.
Well, and then you have the bullet train, which none of us have ever used and none of us will ever use, but they insist on pumping money into that thing for all of eternity. It's part and parcel what we get from Sacramento.
I totally believe that.
All right,
transit centers or ride their bike. It just defies all common sense, which unfortunately has become a way of life for a lot of us here.
Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Ruth. Ruth, welcome.
Hi. Have they ever thought about when electric cars are forced on us, where are they going to put the chargers?
Yeah, because you need to find a place to park those cars too. And they're not requiring any parking for these buildings. That's part of the reason that these local communities are opposed to 6-story buildings in areas that are zoned for single-family homes. People have cars. They have to park them somewhere, which means there's going to be no parking available in any of these neighborhoods. But you're right. Right now, most people have to fuel up at the gas station. If you have an electric car, you need a charger. People like to charge their cars at home so they can charge them overnight while they're sleeping, and then they get up in the morning and they have a fully charged car that they can use to go to work or go to school or wherever. If there's no place to put it, then how do you do that? Thank you for the call. Let's go to Antonia in Sonoma. Antonia, hello.
Hi. I'm actually calling about Alex Padilla's new ad, Pro 50, but could I just comment on housing being built in Sonoma County?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, well, I don't live in Santa Rosa, but a friend of mine says it's starting to look like Moscow. I mean, like really just multi-story buildings are just shoving people in there, multiple. And even here where I live in Petaluma, they're planning on kind of the same thing. Just, multi-story buildings. They say they're for locals, but people come in from out of town to take these apartments. Anyway, that's just what's happening up here, and it's just really awful. It's ruining the character of our cities. Anyway, I wanted to comment on Alex Padilla's horrible ad, and you're probably aware of it being shown, him being thrown on the floor.
Oh, yeah. He claims that wasn't a stunt, but now he's using it in an ad that is ostensibly about Prop 50. But what it's doing is it is putting his name out there, and it's making him relevant in the current news cycle because I think, and a lot of other people think, he is kicking tires on running for governor. And now that Katie Porter has imploded, he now has his opportunity. Thanks for the call. I got to run to a break here. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Nicholas writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. You know, I've never met anyone with a house and a car that said, boy, if I could only live in a one-bedroom apartment and use public transportation instead, I'd be so much happier.
That is a very good point. And Randy, with the end of the show quickly approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You could download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube. Get the free KABC app. Get the free KSFO app. Get the KMJ Now app. We're on that station Saturdays at 2. So many different ways to listen live to these radio stations and download all the podcasts. Why don't you go back to last week when we found out that Oakland needs a new police chief?
It's happened yet again.
Or a year and a half ago when Oakland needed a new police chief.
It's happened yet again.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes Gino Vanelli at the Saban Theater on October 30th. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by the Saban at the Canyon, where music meets the soul. Good luck dialing.
Well, we know that Washington, D.C. was a zoo for a very long time. President Trump said he wasn't going to allow that to continue, so he sent the National Guard in. And now Washington, D.C. is very safe. There are other big cities in America that aren't safe that he's currently taking a look at. One of them is San Francisco. And in San Francisco, Randy, he found a very unlikely ally.
Mark Benioff, the head of Salesforce, in an interview with the New York Times, said he wouldn't mind seeing the National Guard or something like it in San Francisco so the city can be clean and crime-free, not just the week of Dreamforce. Now, he has walked that back a little after some backlash from local officials. Let's hear what's going on with this. Here's a report from ABC7 in the Bay.
In a new post on X, Mark Benioff appearing to back off his call for National Guard troops to be sent to San Francisco. The Salesforce CEO writing, "When I was recently asked about federal resources, my point was this. Each year, to make Dreamforce as safe as possible for 50,000 attendees, we add 200 additional law enforcement professionals coordinated across city, state, and other partners. It's proof that collaboration works and a reminder that the city needs more resources to keep San Franciscans safe year-round."
When we want to clean up the city to make the international crowd look pretty, we can do it.
The thing is, the crowd that doesn't believe that more police officers make cities safer, they ideologically subscribe to the belief that cops equal violence. And I guess if you twist yourself into a pretzel, you can get there. That would be like saying, well, I'm not going to the hospital if I'm sick because people die in hospitals. Well, of course people die in hospitals, but it's not the hospitals that are killing them. It's not the cops that are making these cities unsafe. It's the fact that there's a lot of crime there. When there's a lot of crime there, you need more cops. And if you have more people keeping an eye on the criminals, guess what happens to the crime rate? It goes down.
Benioff made his original comments in a recent interview with the New York Times just days ahead of his Dreamforce conference. Those remarks creating a firestorm among local city leaders. From Mayor Daniel Lurie,
San Francisco is on the rise. I trust our local law enforcement. Crime is down 30%. We have a long way to go, but I trust our local law enforcement to do their job. We're going to keep Salesforce and Dreamforce people safe.
To San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins.
You know, I've got to say this. I know that Lurie is better than London Breed, and I know Brooke Jenkins is better than Chesa Boudin. But both of them are massive disappointments when it comes to this, because they feel obligated to stake out the partisan position because they don't want to be seen as pro-Trump. Even though what Trump is doing and what Trump is saying in regard to the city of San Francisco is in line with the platform that they ran on, because it's Trump, they have to be against it. And that's just stupid.
To San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins.
Well, and this is the same city where Gavin Newsom sent the National Guard to the Tenderloin just a year and a half ago.
Right. But because he's not Donald Trump, you can be in favor of that. When Trump does the same thing with more resources, then you have to be opposed to it because that's fascism.
To San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, who I sat down with for a one-on-one interview Friday.
To invite chaos into our city, no, Mr. Benioff needs to know that that's not the solution. And I want the president to know we don't want his version of law and order.
Benioff's statements have gotten a lot of attention.
You know what I think is going on here? I think Brooke Jenkins in particular wants to run for higher office. And she knows she has to be seen as a partisan to do that. So even though she understands that left-wing policies have failed San Francisco, specifically the left-wing policies of people like Chesa Boudin, she still has to play footsie with that world and has to, I guess, subscribe to those arguments and those beliefs because that's what she thinks she needs to get to the next level. I don't know if she's going to run for governor. I don't know if she's going to run for Senate. I don't know if she's going to run for attorney general, but clearly she sees herself in a much bigger role than as district attorney of San Francisco.
Benioff's statements have gotten a lot of attention outside of San Francisco, too. That includes from Elon Musk, who on Sunday shared a video made by local drug recovery advocate Tom Wolfe.
Hey, friend of the show, Tom Wolfe, making this story.
That's right.
That includes from Elon Musk, who on Sunday shared a video made by local drug recovery advocate Tom Wolfe.
When is enough enough?
In an interview Sunday, Wolfe told me he doesn't agree with all of Benioff's original sentiments, but he does think there are elements of truth to them, especially around issues of drug addiction and homelessness.
Last year, SFPD arrested all the drug dealers in San Francisco. They made 900 felony drug dealing arrests, yet the drug market remains. Why is that?
Well, we know why. The judges and sometimes the juries.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes that need to be made in San Francisco, and not just in San Francisco, but around the state of California, because Gavin Newsom appoints the judges, not just in that county, but in all 58 counties.
Well, and when you're talking about the drug dealers in the Tenderloins, there is a disproportionate number of them that are illegal aliens from Honduras. And you remember when Matt Dorsey wanted to change San Francisco's sanctuary city law to say, if you're arrested for dealing fentanyl, we will turn you over to ICE, and he got called a racist.
Because that's separating families.
In order to fix the problem.
Also, they're all victims of human trafficking, Johnny.
Oh, yeah, just listen to him.
In order to fix the problem, Wolfe thinks certain laws and policies need to be changed. And if it takes federal help to clean up San Francisco's streets, Wolfe says he might support it depending on what it looks like.
Nobody wants the federal troops to come. Nobody wants the National Guard in San Francisco. But at the same time, we have to do our job.
Dreamforce is set to run from Tuesday through Thursday. In San Francisco, Tim Johns, ABC 7 News.
So there you go. There's the latest on the controversy in San Francisco after Mark Benioff said, yeah, we could use some help in San Francisco.
And here's the thing. If the National Guard comes in, it won't be a permanent thing. It'll be a temporary thing. But if they could get that city back to a respectable place, and then the city can inherit that, and they can figure out how to maintain that, what's the problem? Everyone benefits. If you live there, you benefit. If you do business there, you benefit. If you're a tourist and you're visiting there, you benefit. At one moment in time, San Francisco used to be known as the cleanest big city in the United States. The city is aesthetically beautiful. People regard it as being a city that is trash because we allowed it to go that way. But if you change your mind and you just decide one day you're not going to put up with that, guess what? You don't have to. You don't have to live in filth. You don't have to live around a bunch of criminals. You don't have to live around a bunch of lawlessness. And Donald Trump is willing to help you get there. Help you get to a place where the city is attractive again and people want to live there, people want to do business there, people want to visit there. Don't let your Trump derangement syndrome keep you from cleaning up where you live. It's amazing to me how people with TDS are reflexively against anything he's for, even if they're only punishing themselves. But that's what they're doing. They don't want the National Guard there because they want to teach Trump a lesson. They're more concerned about that than making sure that San Francisco is a safe, clean city. Let's go to Lee in Laverne. Lee, hello.
Welcome back, Phillips.
Thank you.
Had a good time on your vacation. Oh, I love that song you just played. Pa, 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 pa. I was just thinking about Romeo Void. Randy will appreciate this because he's into that 80s stuff. A city in trouble is a temporary thing. Remember that one, Randy?
I really don't.
No. Well, they had a bigger one. Anyway, let me circle back to the Scott to El Pequeño Wiener story. Am I wrong, or were there carve-outs for some of the county or the county governments, like San Bernardino and Riverside? Didn't they get a carve-out on this?
Yeah, it's only applying to the big counties: Sacramento, San Francisco, Alameda, Santa Clara, San Mateo, Los Angeles, Orange County, and San Diego.
Okay. So all that acreage, all that area out there in those two giant counties that could build, and they do have some public transportation going on out there. But no, you're going to go to the places where people are already here. They're already densely packed in. I grew up in the South Bay. You know this. Manhattan, Redondo, Hermosa, Alameda, Torrance, Gardena. Those cities are not going to tolerate this. I suspect everybody's going to get together and they're going to sue the heck out of Sacramento because this is wrong. This is wrong. And this is a playbook. This is a page right out of the UN playbook. Jam them in like sardines, keep them under control, and use the transportation corridors as your, the way that you're going to do it. Thoughts?
Well, and what they're doing is anti-democratic because you vote for local officials on your board of supervisors, on your city council to handle local issues. And local issues frequently involve land use issues. Well, if you take the decision-making away from them and you give it to people in Sacramento, then what recourse do you have as a voter if there's something going on in your community that you don't like and you don't want to change? The answer is you can't do anything about it, and they've taken away your ability to have any influence over it at all. I know that Gavin Newsom and his cronies say that they're defending democracy. What this bill does is it eliminates democratic means to resolve problems. And if you're a local elected and you're on a city council or you're on a board of supervisors and your constituents are furious over a land use decision that they don't want, they're not going to blame Gavin Newsom, especially after he's termed out. They're not going to blame Scott Wiener, especially after he's termed out. They're going to blame you. You're going to be the one who takes it on the chin, and you don't have the ability to do anything to stop it. What they're doing is they're creating a system that removes accountability and it removes giving the people a say in the matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sorry. No, I mean,
you know what you just did.
The number one, the number one issue for locals. The number one issue for locals is zoning issues. That's number one. It always has been. It always will be. So anyway, thanks.
All right. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Joe in Santa Monica. Joe, hello.
Hey, ditto to your last caller. And Stacey Parks, sue, sue, sue. That's not why I called. Welcome back, John. And Randy did a great job. When I heard that Trump wanted to go to San Francisco and clean it up, I said, San Francisco? I listen to this show all the time. Oakland. Yeah. President Trump, go to Oakland. That's the place that needs it. I'm sure San Francisco could use a little help too, but what's your thoughts on that, John Phillips and Randy? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, Donald Trump may have the National Guard, but he doesn't have a magic wand.
Cheng does.
Not a day goes by where I don't wish I could just wave a magic wand and silence the gunfire.
Thank you for the call. Let's go to Robert in Santa Clara. Robert, hello.
Well, I'm going to cut to the chase. In this Prop 50, I've heard that there's ballot harvesting. And, Padilla also is cut to the chase. He's a senator. They're going to try to fit him in so he can, once his seat's open, they're going to put Newsom in as a senator. He can run for president as a senator and influence our government. It's over. Unless we get too big to rig for what? Prop 19, everything you guys talk about. What else do you guys bring up? Prop 50, got to get too big to rig. We got to show up. Can't let all the, lackadaisical habits, kick in. We got to show up and get too big to rig. And something needs to happen on the federal level to point out and maybe even create a lawsuit to debunk this whole Prop 50 thing, because they're already doing illegal stuff. Holes in the ballot, showing the no vote, sending it back to the people, all sorts of crazy stuff in certain counties. I mean, we're living in like a banana republic right now, or worse. Literally.
Well, the ballots are out in the mail. I know when I came back from vacation, I flew in last night, and when I got my mail out of the mailbox, the ballot was there. I filled it out last night before I went to bed, and I put it back in my mailbox with the red flag up. I have voted. It was easy as pie to do. There's only one thing that you're voting on regarding this initiative. It's Prop 50. You don't have to vote on the judges. You don't have to vote for city council. You don't have to vote for water board or your party central committee. You're only voting for Prop 50. It took me less than 2 minutes to fill out the ballot, to put it in the envelope, to sign it, to date it, to walk it out to the mailbox and put the red flag up. That was all it required from me. If you care about defeating Prop 50, if you care about giving California a voice in the United States House of Representatives and not rigging our elections, I would advise you to fill your ballot out and to fill it out no as well, and vote no as well, and put it in the mailbox. Because based on what I've seen right now, Democrats are more motivated to fill it out and turn it in than Republicans. Because Democrats are upset. They lost the last election, an election they thought that they were going to win. Kamala Harris went down in defeat to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is now a lame duck, so they can't go out and vote against him again. He's going to be the president for 4 years, and he is much more aggressively pushing his platform and his programs this time around than he did the last time around. Republicans are largely happy because Republicans are getting what they want. The border is now secure, something we haven't seen in a very long time in this country, something we were told was not possible in this country. Hostages in the Middle East are coming back to Israel. People are very happy about that. The stock market is doing gangbusters. People are happy about that. And if you're fat, dumb, and happy, you're not necessarily motivated to go out and vote because you feel as if it can be taken away from you. When people are enjoying the success, frequently they're apathetic. They figure, oh, well, the last election was the important one. I went out and I voted, and we got the result that we needed, and now we're all doing well. Well, you have to maintain it. And maintaining it means voting when you have the opportunity, particularly in an important election. Not all elections are the most important election in your lifetime, and this one certainly is not, and I'm not saying that it is, but it is important. So if defeating Prop 50 is something that is important to you, that is something that you care about, as opposed to tweeting about it or arguing with people on social media about it, the best thing you can do is to fill out your ballot and put it in the mailbox. That's what I did last night, and there's nothing stopping you from doing the same thing.